American constituents are also speaking out on health care. According to the Harvard-Harris poll, nearly half of voters say health care is one of the most important issues facing the nation today. Other top concerns include fighting terrorism and the economy. Joining us is former chief strategist for Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign, chief strategist for President Bill Clinton's 1996 re-election, Mark Penn. Mark, you were the chairman of the Harris poll. Were you surprised by any of these results?
Well, I think there are a lot of surprising results this month. I think health care has catapulted up as an issue. I think that the economy has been number one for quite some time. But economy, terrorism, and health care are the 1, 2, and 3 issues. And I think most important is that both the Democrats and the Republican parties are facing 60% or so negative ratings. And right now, until somebody gets something done, nobody is really winning here. The president is slightly negative, and the two parties even more negative.
You know, I think it's really fascinating that all ships are falling right now. So I think you're right in pointing out that even the Democrats are not having the support that we've once seen. And so my question to you is, who do you think is going to win the war of messaging moving forward? Because we both do this for a living, watching who's got the story. It seems like the Democrats have really owned the health care debate. But moving forward, an anti-message isn't necessarily a message that's going to get people's support. So I'm really curious what you think is going to happen moving forward there.
Well, right now, it's a lot easier to build a coalition for no than it is to build a coalition for yes. And that's why there's a problem here in breaking the gridlock, because it's too easy to get a no. On the other hand, I think if a bill does come through and they deal with Medicaid and they deal with pre-existing conditions, those are really the key issues that have to be dealt with. I think really people are looking for a tax cut and infrastructure. I mean, if they can start to get some things done here, the winners are going to be whoever steps forward and says, I'm going to help break this logjam. Those people who keep putting logs in front of things, I think, are ultimately not going to be winners.
We haven't seen any Democrats willing to move things forward.
But yeah, Mark, if they thought that was a winning stance, then you would see some people stepping up from the opposition party, but that is not happening.
Well, there's I think, probably more party discipline right now on the Democratic side. After all, why should 1 or 2 Democrats stick out when the whole party could make a better deal than 1 or 2 alone? I think you see they're also looking at the Republican Party and say, hey, they don't have discipline within their party. Well, let them fight it out amongst themselves. Why should we get in the middle of this? I think that's, in that sense, it's hands off.
With that being said, does that mean that should nothing get done before the July 4th deadline, will the Democrats come around and start to work with the Republicans before the August recess and try to start working with them to do something and put their influence behind it, or are they just completely out of this?
Look, I think that's unclear. The Democrats have said on health care, we don't want to repeal Obamacare. We're going to be less likely to make any deals on health care. Come around to tax cuts and infrastructure. We've got some stuff there that we want. But frankly, we want you to not repeal Obamacare. So I really wouldn't expect Democrats to come around on this issue. Republicans are going to need to get their act together, or they're going to wind up looking pretty foolish.
But it is keeping 10 of the 12 mandates, as pointed out by Senator Paul. I mean, this really isn't a repeal and replace. It's just a modification, especially when it comes to Medicaid.
But if you've got 5 Republican senators fighting the rest of them, why would a Democrat get in the middle of that fight? No reason. Republicans are going to have to learn to have some discipline if they want to have some bargaining power here. Otherwise, they got nothing.
Mark, what do you make, though, of the messaging from some of the Democratic leadership? I mean, we've heard this from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, referring to Republicans are hurting the health of American people by trying to reform Obamacare. But then Hillary Clinton took it a step further at the end of last week, where she said forget death. I think the exact tweet was, forget death panels. Forget death panels. If Republicans pass this bill, they're the death party. How does that help anything? How does that help the message of the Democrats who are actually still in office?
Look, I think on certain areas like the economy, the president is getting a lot of credit. In fact, has a majority approval rating on the economy, on terrorism. But on health care here, the Democrats are winning the message war. There may be some over-the-top comments that are inappropriate, but basically people are concerned about, are pre-existing conditions going to be covered? What's going to happen to those who can't afford health care? What's going to happen if the CBO comes out with these numbers? The Republicans have not had an effective message campaign on this.
But what do you think, I mean, specifically what Dagan was just saying was that she called this a death party. That's really incendiary language, and I'm curious.
Given the fact that Steve Scalise is still in the hospital after getting shot.
So I'm just,
yeah, look, I've never been for that, for language that's over the top. But there are real concerns here, and just pointing to language that's over the top isn't going to really change them here. Republicans have yet to lay out an effective case on what they're doing here in the repeal and replace bill, who it's helping and why. Yeah. And until they lay out some kind of case like that, don't expect them to win the message war, even if some Democrats go over the top.
Well, Mark, and you did mention the economy. 44% of voters believe the economy is on on track. That's 12 percentage points more compared to those who think the country is going in the wrong direction. Why do you think this is the case? Why is this the case? Because again, we talk about all the legislative agenda from the Republicans that is moving slowly at best.
Yeah, there's been a remarkable change here. Really, people see the economy as growing. I think over 60% see it as growing. I think for the first time since the election, people now see the economy as going in the right track. On the economy here, since President Trump has taken office, he's been getting a lot of credit. People see growth. The stock market is up. That's where I think the president and the Republicans so far have scored some gains. But if they don't come through with tax cuts and infrastructure, where does it all go?
That's a very good point. Mark, good to talk to you this morning. We covered a lot of ground. Mark Penn, thank you for joining us.